Hey, what's happening, my friends? Welcome back. Welcome back. Let's talk about Jon Jones shooting back up to the #1 spot on the pound for pound list, eclipsing Alexander Volkanovski and surpassing Islam Makhachev. Should it have happened? Is it right? Should Volkanovski remain #1? Let's get into this. All right, so this is kind of like a layered thing. So on one hand, I understand why Jon Jones shot back up to the #1 spot. If I'm not mistaken, he was #1 before he left. So it's not like anybody defeated him to knock him down. It's almost like things got frozen in time. He's champ, he's #1, he decides to walk away. Then as a result of that, because he's away, other guys shoot up and take his spot over. It's kind of like the situation where if you walk away being UFC champ and the contenders down the line have a fight for the belt you relinquished, will people view those guys as champ, as the true champs? I don't think so. I think the true champ will be the guy who walked away in the eyes of the fans. Now, of course, like 10 years goes by, that's a different thing. But let's say in the case of Francis Ngannou, Francis and the UFC couldn't broker a deal. They couldn't make the contract work. Francis is no longer with the UFC for now. Jones fought Cyril Gane. He's the current heavyweight champ, but is he really? And this is not a debate whether or not Jon Jones can beat Ngannou. It's just, is he really the UFC heavyweight champ right now? On paper, yes. In place of Ngannou, yes. If 3 years go by, 5 years go by, it doesn't matter about Francis. Francis doesn't matter at that point. But for a bit, Francis is still going to be viewed as the UFC heavyweight champ, even if he doesn't have that belt, even if he's not a part of the organization. Now, if he competes somewhere else and loses a match at heavyweight in mixed martial arts, that changes things as well. So let's get back to Jon Jones being the #1 pound for pound. He left pound for pound. So it kind of makes sense that upon his return, doing an incredible feat, winning the UFC heavyweight champ after 3 years away, moving up a division, I mean, that's a big deal. Given that he left #1, it's not that crazy to shoot him back up. Now, here's a strong argument against that. Volkanovski and the rest of these guys have been putting in work for the years that Jon's been away, battling, active, like I said, putting in work. So Alexander Volkanovski 1000% deserves that #1 pound for pound spot. He earned it. Jon has been away. Time has passed. Guys have been grinding, battling in his absence. So is it fair that he walks away, then strolls back in, wins one fight, and then shoots back up? When you look at it and word it like that, you definitely would be in favor of Alexander keeping his #1 pound for pound spot. But the thing is, like, it wasn't just some fight. Jon moved up to heavyweight, competed for the UFC heavyweight belt, and won it. It's not like he fought a Joe Schmo. The guy comes back, wins the title. Pretty big deal. So as weird as it sounds, I think I'm in favor of Jon shooting back up to #1. I mean, that's where he was at before he left. Comes back, wins a really big fight, wins another belt and another division. Yeah, let him keep it. Volkanovski should be right underneath him. Then you got Islam Makhachev. DC doesn't seem to agree, and I'm not sure if that's coming from like a bias. I don't think so. A lot of people like to say that. I like to think some people are professional and mature. Tell it like it is. Try not to have bias or grudges or hard feelings. And what's right is right, and what the truth is the truth. It's like when you lose to somebody, the public's always going to say that you're hating on them, that you have a grudge, that you have a negative bias. But is that true? I'm willing to give DC the benefit of the doubt. I don't think he's hating on Jon. I just think he's voicing his honest opinion. He doesn't think Jon should shoot up to the #1 spot. I'm like in the middle. Like, I could understand the arguments against it, and I could understand putting him back in that #1 spot. So as it stands right now, I say let him have it. I'm leaning towards let him take that spot, even with the time away. But those are my thoughts, guys. It's a subjective thing, honestly. I don't think there's a right or wrong answer. If people think Jon shouldn't get that #1 spot, I respect it. With me, I'm cool with it. Drop those comments. Tell me what you think. Do you think it's unfair to Volkanovski and the rest of the guys on that list? Or do you think it's the right thing to do considering that John was number one before he left, came back and did something big? But then again, Volkanovski's been putting in that work. Drop those thoughts, guys. Want to read your comments. Thanks for watching the video. Appreciate you. And I'll catch you all on the next one. Take care.